feel good. I'm ready. I'm an athlete, so let's do this thing. Hi, I'm Lauren Beliv, and this is Crypto in a Minute. It all comes down to my favorite quote from The West Wing. Decisions are made by those who show up. And in 2024, Ripple showed up. It was the Biden administration, and we were under Gary Gensler's reign of terror, where he issued over 100 different enforcement actions across the crypto industry. That is not regular order. So Ripple decided to really invest its time and energy in the political process, working tirelessly to educate bipartisan members on our technology and our work around consumer protection. We went to the DNC, we invested into the RNC, and we participated throughout the campaign cycle. And now we have the most pro-crypto Congress, as well as a pro-crypto president. We attended the inauguration along with the inaugural White House Crypto Summit. We are working with Congress as it puts pen to paper on bipartisan legislation that will define the next 100 years of our industry. And we are excited about all the potential that there is to come.
Hey, what's up, bull runners? Welcome back to the channel. The markets are on fire, but is it about to burn? The SEC just threw shade at Ripple's big win, warning that it could unravel crypto's future. Tether's boss is shaking things up in Europe. And hold up, Facebook wants crypto payments for its 3 billion users. So buckle up, because today's news is massive and I'm breaking it all down for you. Today, we're unpacking huge stories shaking up the crypto world. First, an SEC commissioner just slammed Ripple's recent deal, saying that it weakens their power to regulate crypto. And this could mean more freedom for projects or chaos for investors. And then next, you do have Tether's CEO, Paolo Ardonio, just dropped a bold plan for Europe. And it's a big deal for stablecoins. And then Facebook's eyeing crypto payments for its 3 billion users. I mean, imagine the impact on the crypto market and on the world with that. And Ripple is also copying SoftBank's playbook with that $1.25 billion hidden road purchase. We'll dive deeper into that in today's video as well. Plus, we will be heading over to X to find out all the breaking news that is happening in the finance world today. We will also be jumping into the charts for XRP, and we'll be looking at our support and resistance. Plus, we will be looking at our short-term and long-term momentum. Some really good signs in the charts we'll show you. And so much more for you in today's video. So if you're like most people where you don't have the opportunity to spend hours a day in the crypto news like we do for you here on this channel, make sure you subscribe today. And if you are feeling bullish about this current bull run, let me know by commenting 777 down below. Before we jump too far into the news, let's head over to CoinMarketCap and check out the overall health of the crypto market today. First and foremost, we are now at 3.26 trillion as a total market cap for crypto. It is up 1.49% in the last 24 hours. Another successful day as far as volume goes, $179 billion worth of crypto traded in the last 24 hours. As you can see in the 30-day chart, the charts look fantastic. Nothing but newer highs and higher lows and newer highs coming into the markets. And we have now officially surpassed the March 2nd high, which was 3.15 trillion, creating a new market structure. If you remember, not too long ago, March 25th was the level we needed to break at 2.87 trillion. And we did do that finally over here at the end of April. Now, obviously, going into the beginning of May, it has been really on fire. We did now break above this March 2nd high of 3.15 trillion. Our next level here is going to be 3.24 trillion. We broke that officially today. Now we need to see us move up to that $3.6 trillion level, really making some headway. How soon until we break the all-time high above 3.7 trillion? We will continue to keep you updated on this every single day. Make sure you subscribe now. Fear and greed index is really starting to take off to the upside. We are getting into greed zones here at 70. Yesterday, we were neutral at 53. Altcoin season index is starting to potentially pick up. We're at 35 out of 100. We are still in Bitcoin season. We haven't necessarily crossed into altcoin season. And that's, of course, because Bitcoin dominance is still at 62.8%. It is actually coming down. As you can see, yesterday was 64.4%. And a great leading indicator for these markets is the Bitcoin ETF tracker. As you can see, as Bitcoin ETF volume started to pick up in the end or middle end of April here, starting April 15th, the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd, and continued flowing into the upside. Now, we have had some smaller inflows this week, even an outflow on Cinco de Mayo, but we've had still consistent gains to the upside. And as you can see with the gray bar here, price continues to grow with inflows of the ETFs. And if we look at the 1 year, 3 weeks ago, we did $3 billion in inflows where we really started to ramp up in price of Bitcoin going up. Then last week, $1.8 billion. So if you take these last 3 weeks combined, we're looking at $6 billion worth of inflows into the ETFs. This week, not doing so hot. It was a holiday week, though. We're already up, though, $599 million this week. Taking a look at the top 5 cryptos by market cap, Bitcoin number 1, of course, at $2 trillion. Ethereum at $282 billion. Tether at number 3 at $149 billion. XRP trying to retake that 3rd spot, currently sitting at $137 billion. BNB sitting at number 5, $90 billion. And Solana really trying to take that number 5 spot at $89.8 billion. Solana has been on a heater in the last 7 days, up 17%. Heading over to X to find out all the breaking news. First off, don't forget you can win $100 worth of XRP. We're doing a giveaway every single week. We give it away on Sundays. If you want to win, all you need to do is like this post. You have to head over to the Bull Runners HQ. Make sure you follow us as well. But you're going to head over to Bull Runners HQ on X.com, like the post that's pinned, comment XRP below, and sign up for the Blowfin account using our affiliate link right here. And you would get a 10% deposit bonus up to $50K. So you can get $5,000 deposit bonus. And the winners will be announced in our daily email newsletter we send out for you for updates on news and education on Sunday night's edition at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Congratulations to Caio Alexio for winning last week's XRP giveaway. Everyone who subscribes to our daily newsletter also gets our free ebook, Altcoin Secrets. Now, jumping over to the news, this is what we were talking about in the very intro of the video. In 1 minute, Lauren Believe, Ripple's global co-head of policy, explains why proactive engagement and education with regulators and policymakers in Washington, D.C. is essential for building a smart, responsible framework for crypto. And that is very true. And they did a very smart job. I know Ripple got a huge slam because part of the money went to the Democrats, and people in crypto tend to be more right-leaning, understandably. But this was not a right-left issue. This was a complete of government, whole of government issue. We needed to make sure government was on board with crypto, and Ripple really pushed for that. Thank you to the Ripple team. And as we also talked about in the intro, why is Tether refusing to comply with MiCA? If you remember, the MiCA was the new regulations that the EU put out against crypto altogether. And in this exclusive interview, CEO Paulo Ardornio breaks down the bold strategy behind Tether's stance in Europe and what it means for crypto's future, among other things.
I'm very excited because now the US, that is the most powerful country in the world, is in the process of regulating a technology that Tether created in 2014. So we are grateful. I think that we are seeing a lot of progress in our discussions with US stakeholders. The reason why I'm there is to explain why the technology that we created so many years ago, sure, is interesting for the United States, but the reality is that people in the United States have hundreds of ways to pay each other, while people in the emerging markets, developing countries, they are struggling to just holding their national currency that is devaluating very fast against the US dollar. Think about the Turkish lira, the Argentinian pesos, and so on. So the Turkish lira lost 80% of its value against the US dollar in the last 5 years, and the Argentinian peso lost 90+% of its value against the US dollar in the last 10 years. So it's all these people are turning to USDT. We have more than 400 million users in these countries, in the emerging markets, and we're growing. We grew 46 million wallets in the last 3 months, in the last quarter. So we are the living proof that stable coins are the way to go for the emerging markets, are also very helpful to bring the US dollar hegemony to the next level and push back against the de-dollarization push of the BRICS countries that are actually building infrastructure and bringing new types of currencies to trying to undermine the US dollar in Africa, in Central South America, and so on. So I think Tether is the last stronghold for US dollar hegemony, and that's something that I believe in the US is not very well understood and needs to be understood very well while they are crafting the regulations. I'm honest.
So Tether continues to be the leading stablecoin in the world, and they are fighting back against the European regulation. Justin, the Bank of International Settlements reports that Bitcoin, a potential hedge against currency weakness. This is like the craziest thing ever, because the Bank of International Settlements is actually the bank that is in control of all the central banks. So you always hear everyone talking trash about the Federal Reserve. Well, the Bank of International Settlements is even bigger and more powerful than the Federal Reserve. Not sure if you ever went down that rabbit hole, but even they are now saying it's a potential hedge against currency weakness. Absolutely blows my mind. World adoption is happening, warp speed in front of your face. And also CryptoQuant, one of the websites that I use a lot for data, the CEO, he's admitting that he was wrong, that the bull cycle was ending. He's pointing to a strong ETF inflows and institutional demand. And what's really interesting is nobody on the internet was talking about ETF inflows or ETF outflows, except for me on this segment, on this channel. If you go back for weeks and weeks and weeks, we've been talking about this for months now, that it was starting to look like we were getting some volume coming into the markets as far as inflows into ETFs. We also know that Bitcoin is the leader of all cryptos. No matter which crypto cult you belong to, Bitcoin is still the leader in crypto. Always is. I mean, it's a $2 trillion asset versus everything else. We have world banks, everything getting on board for Bitcoin specifically, only as you see in the news. So if you watch Bitcoin, it is also an indicator of what all the other cryptos are potentially going to be doing. And everyone was piling into Bitcoin. $1.5 trillion Facebook is seeking to launch their crypto wallets and payments for 3 billion users per fortune. Only a matter of time before they also start to allow Bitcoin as well. Now, obviously, right now, they're going to be trying to launch the stable coins first, but then comes later every other crypto as well, as you all know.
Meta is now in talks with a number of crypto companies as it considers introducing stable coins as a way to manage payouts. This is coming from a new report in Fortune magazine. It comes years after Meta's earlier attempt, you'll remember, at a cryptocurrency blew up. Fortune saying that Meta's recent outreach to crypto companies focuses on the ability of stable coins to pay individuals in different regions without the high fees that would traditionally associated with other forms of payment. It also says that Meta has now hired a new vice president of product with crypto experience to help move those discussions along.
So Facebook is definitely going to be on board. As you know, they tried to launch their own coin, didn't work out, but they're now going to be adopting current existing models. So Justin, Trump's family stablecoin, USD1, is taking over BNB chain, reaching over $2 billion in market cap and becoming the second largest stablecoin after USDT, according to CryptoRank. And if we head back over to CoinMarketCap and we go into the category section of stablecoin, we'll take a look right here. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is now the 5th highest ranking stablecoin, coming in at $2.1 billion. And this is when you factor in all chains combined. This headline is just factoring in the BNB chain, as we talked about. Also, Justin, Standard Chartered Bank Analyst apologizes for a $120 Bitcoin price prediction and says that target may be too low. So that's pretty interesting there. Also, Missouri set to become the first United States state to exempt capital gains on stocks, crypto, and real estate. Major big boom. And we have Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong saying Bitcoin is going to multiple millions per coin.
We have seen just incredible growth, and I think it hit an all-time high yesterday, so we feel very good about that. But I think over time we'll see Bitcoin get into the millions, multiple millions price range. I mean, it's being adopted by more and more institutional customers. The ETFs brought in a huge amount of inflow. If we get clear legislation passed in the US, that would be a big milestone. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, if the US took that path, probably the rest of the G20 would follow. In fact, I've discussed with a number of finance ministers here in Switzerland from different countries around the world, just the idea of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, they're getting more interested in it now because the US is looking into it. So I think Bitcoin has a long way to go. It's going to be the new gold standard out there. And crypto is really much bigger than that too. It's about payments.
Jumping into the headlines, SEC commissioner criticizes the Ripple deal and warns that it could weaken legal authority. So one of the commissioners, Caroline Crenshaw to be specific, has publicly criticized the SEC's settlement with Ripple Labs, expressing concerns that it could undermine the SEC's authority in regulating the cryptocurrency industry. The existing settlement follows the court ruling that found that Ripple's institutional sales of XRP did violate securities laws, while sales on public exchanges did not. And both parties have agreed to drop their respective appeals, because remember, SEC appealed against Ripple and Ripple appealed against the SEC. And they'll drop those if the court lifts the injunction against Ripple, effectively ending one of the most closely watched crypto cases in history. It was the most watched case. Obviously, Commissioner Crenshaw's critique highlights internal SEC tensions. In Crenshaw's rebuttal, she warned that the agreement does a tremendous disservice to the investing public and undermines the court's role in interpreting our securities laws. She further argued that the settlement could create a regulatory vacuum, leaving investors vulnerable until a comprehensive regulatory framework is established. Crenshaw's dissent does show internal division between the SEC and the other members. The settlement also depicts a shift in the SEC retreating from aggressive crypto enforcement actions, as seen in dropping lawsuits against other crypto firms like Coinbase and Kraken as well. So now the judge must formally agree to dissolve last August's injunction and approve the return of $75 million from escrow. Only then can the real procedural machinery kick in. Should Judge Torres signal her consent, both the SEC and Ripple plan to petition the Second Circuit Court of Appeals for a limited remand, sending the matter back to her courtroom to enter the agreed settlement order. And that would be the final step that would trigger the official motion to vacate the injunction and redistribute the funds. And once the injunction is lifted and the settlement funds are distributed, the final act will be for both parties to jointly ask the Court of Appeals to dismiss the SEC's appeal and Ripple's cross appeal. So it's not done yet, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. It's continuing on. And there's some really interesting information coming out about this hidden road deal that Ripple ended up pulling off. And is it like a SoftBank playbook? So first off, just so we know, we got the Hidden Road deal, and Hidden Road is going to migrate its post-trade operations to the ledger and the blockchain that underpins XRP and several of Ripple's institutional services, as we know. So Austin King, who sold his startup Strata Labs to Ripple back in 2019, said that instead of in-house development like Google or Meta, formerly Facebook, obviously, SoftBank built its empire through aggressive investments, joint ventures, and acquisition. And Ripple seems to be following a similar playbook, but not everyone's convinced the comparison holds. So what is the SoftBank model, and why is it being called inside of Ripple's idea? So two deals put SoftBank on the map: an early investor in Yahoo and the legendary $20 million bet on Alibaba, which exploded to $60 million when Alibaba went public back in 2014. SoftBank recycled its returns into fresh capital, exits, and sprawling ecosystem. And that included $20 billion move into US telecom via Sprint and semiconductors through its $31 billion acquisition of UK-based arms. So what they're saying is SoftBank did not internally say, oh, let's go ahead and build an arm of telecommunications like Sprint to rival Sprint. They went out and found someone who was struggling at the time and just purchased Sprint. And same thing with the semiconductors. They didn't have an inside department for semiconductors. They just went out and acquired for $31 billion ARM. So Ripple is performing a similar strategy focused on financial services, but instead of venture bets on Yahoo and Alibaba, it's XRP that is enabling this. Considering Ripple's recent acquisitions, both firms buy infrastructure instead of building it from scratch and treat their portfolios as ecosystems rather than one-off investments. SoftBank and Ripple both rely on capital as leverage, so money. SoftBank uses its $100 billion vision fund to outbid all the competitors they go up against. And then Ripple also has a war chest of XRP and cash. So as of March 31st, Ripple had 4.56 billion XRP, around $11 billion at current prices, and another 37 billion XRP or 89 billion in escrow. Ripple joins the crypto mergers and acquisition arms race. Instead of spanning telecom, media, and chips, Ripple is assembling a financial infrastructure stack. It acquired custody firms Medico in 2023, Standard Custody in 2024, and then the latest edition of prime broker Hidden Road brings 300 institutional clients clearing $3 trillion annually. Ripple's next big move includes stablecoins, as we've seen with the trying of purchasing of Circle. Garlinghouse said Ripple intends to continue more exploring acquisitions. And King went on to say, I wouldn't be surprised if next year or two we saw acquisition of a large-scale point-of-sale company to expand their territory from back-end financial services to more direct consumer payments. In Austin King's post on X, he says here, you all realize Bank of America has 1.96 trillion in customer deposits, right? And their CEO said that they'd launch a stablecoin once policy was clear. Well, the largest stablecoin today has a market cap of 0.14 trillion or $140 billion, right? So zoom out, way out. Things have barely just begun. And he says here, all banks will jump on stablecoins soon. Now, as we know, though, stablecoin regulation in the United States still remains unresolved. The Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, known as the Genius Act, it did fail to pass the Senate on May 8th. So as a longtime XRP fan, Ripple supporter, and follower, I really like this idea because a lot of people continue to talk trash on Ripple and XRP. What's the real problem with XRP, they say? It has no utility. Cool, you can transfer money back and forth, but that's not enough utility for it to be $1,000, $10,000 a coin, as we hope to see in the future. But these types of moves that they're making to be the payment rails of the world financial system, we could see some reality out of that. All right, let's take a quick look at XRP in the charts. Now, first and foremost, I want to point out a couple of things. Number one, our long-term momentum wave has finally broken above the zero line. And that did happen on April 24th, made a nice little rise. Unfortunately, it hit a hidden bearish divergence here, and it had a small pullback. Luckily, it just pulled back to the zero line and bounced off, because last time we had a hidden bearish divergence, price moved up to the zero line and rejected the opposite direction, right? And then from there, we started making our move up. But if you take a look at this hidden bearish divergence and this hidden, we had a severe drop from here to here, which was a 29% drop. And then we also had from this one here to here was a 34% drop. And then this most recent one, which was triggered right here, did have a drop. Nothing severe though. It dropped itself 10% there. And the reason that this is what I've been telling you guys, right? So the cool thing is when we are riding above the zero line, bullish momentum, right? Long-term bullish momentum. This is green. This is the Wolfpack indicator that I use. You can use this as well. It's free on TradingView. Fast length of 10, slow length of 30. Well, once you get above the zero line, and we do have some potential movement to the downside, and that is based off of our short-term momentum indicator that we use, which is the shaft trend cycle, same settings, 10 and 30. Length is 10, fast length 10, and slow length 30. Well, when we're green on the long-term momentum, even during the reset period, so as we were green here on long-term momentum, we did have this potential nasty drop for the short-term momentum, the shaft trend cycle back to zero. And what I mean by that is if you take a look here, when we're in bearish under on the Wolfpack in the red, and we had this nasty drop, that was the 34% move. Same thing here with this one right here. We had red, price reset in the shaft trend cycle. We started the drop really about here as far as when the hidden bearish divergence hit right there. We had that tire drop that whole time, 29%, 34%, but we're riding green. We're in bullish momentum. We still had that same drop in the short-term momentum, and it only had a 10% drop. Now, conversely, the other thing happens. So when we are green and we start to turn green, we should see a nice pump to the upside while this thing runs back up to the 100 level. As you can see, it continues to go from 100 to 0, 100 to 0, 100 to 0 on the wave scale. Now we flip bullish though. So we should see some momentum to the upside. We have broke, now becoming a support. It was a resistance, $2.24 or $2.25, whatever you like to use. The next move to the upside is here. This is going to be our next major area of resistance, $2.52, $2.50 if you want to round up. And then after that, we get all the way up to $2.80. Now that is a possibility that as we ride here, bullish momentum, we ride this up, we could knock out both of those during this push to the upside, during this momentum wave to the upside. So that is my optimistic outlook to the upside, 250, then 280. However, if for some reason something in the news happens, something goes ridiculously crazy, as you know, we also follow the traditional finance news every single week as well. Just like we followed this week, we actually had some pretty decent news this week in the financial red folder important news announcements. One, we had a positive forecast for our PMI. We broke even, unfortunately, on the federal funds rate, and Jerome Powell came out and talked, and he wasn't extremely negative, so we remained neutral there, I would say. Unemployment claims came out, though, very positive. It was forecast 231,000, only 228,000. So if you ever beat the forecast in unemployment, it's good news. Next week, take a look at this. Tons of red folder news. There is potential of some extreme volatility, both to the upside and the downside next week, so keep an eye on that. So what could happen to the downside? Well, we are barely getting off the ramp here above the zero line. So it very much could just make a W pattern here, up, a W, and then come back down. If that's the case, we could see a return to the lows, which is $1.90 here. And then also the craziest thing is there is a trend line that has been running for us since we were here on December 3rd. It's been to the downside. We were riding above it, obviously, but it is working to the downside. And this could be our potential support, as this being a new lower high and then coming back down to here, which is potentially $1.30, $1.50 range for XRP. Because remember, we had consistent, this was a high, then we had a lower high, and this might be a lower high. However, we did break above this zone with an actual candle body close. But with today's candle looking like an indecision candle, we do have 1 hour left. This is a topping style candle. We pushed hard to the upside. Unfortunately, the bears bought it back down. We could see a return, like I said, hopefully only to retest this 225 if we even have a drop. But if we continue this momentum to the downside, bad news starts to hit the markets. We did hit a local top. This is just continuation of the market structure to the downside, which personally, I don't see that right now. That's invalidated at the moment because we have switched up market structure so much as of recently. But I just want to let you know, be prepared to the downside as well. There is a potential returning to 190, 138, 150 area. Now, one thing I also see that is glaringly obvious is we do have a fair value gap sitting right here. You all know I talk about them all the time. I hate fair value gaps. And this one would be filled if it comes back to this level here at 217. That's also okay as well. Now, as I told you guys a couple of days ago before this massive push, there was a fair value gap to the upside sitting here, and it was sitting at the $1.30 area. $1.39. Sure enough, we poked right through that on the daily fair value gaps. We do not have any other daily fair value gaps to the upside. So as of right now, everything is looking really good. We take a look here at the weekly charts. We've got a new weekly high here. All we need to do really for sure is break above this weekly candle, which is where we rejected just today. So if we take a look here, the body of this candle was right here. We needed to break above that 243 level, 243, 244, and then break into the 250. Didn't happen. Hopefully it will happen this weekend. We'll keep you updated. Make sure you subscribe. Check this out. Hey, bull runners, are you feeling FOMO about this bull run without the right financial support? We're here to change that. We're not just about funding, we're about growing your business together. Whether you're investing in crypto, kicking off a new startup, managing your existing business, or looking to expand, we have personalized funding that meets your exact needs. Imagine starting your business or getting capital to invest $100,000 to $250,000 at 0% interest. That's not a dream, it's what we do. We've helped countless entrepreneurs like you with 0% interest funding without needing personal funds, income verification, or collateral. With just a 680 credit score, you qualify. We understand that your business can't wait, so take advantage of our quick funding approach. We look beyond the credit score with inclusive approval process that sees the big picture of your business or investment potential. Our flexible repayments are tailored to match your business cycles, ensuring you can manage repayments without strain. With access to our extensive lending network of over 5,000 options, we're committed to finding the perfect match for your business or investing needs. Plus, you'll have our dedicated team by your side, guiding you through every step of the funding journey. Whether it's buying crypto, hiring new employees, or launching a new product, we're committed to your success. Click the link to connect with our expert advisors and secure your business's future now.